Bucky is not part of the giveaway.
Where is it? There we go. All right, welcome back to 100 Proof Whitetails. We're going to make sure everything is going like it should. The Nate stops back down tonight. We got Bucky hammering the bottle.
Bucky's hammering the bottle.
We got our new mascot, Bucky. Rated for mature audiences only.
This is Bucky, our new podcast mascot.
Yeah. Well, you kind of had the idea because Eric's got Bobo for his card breaks, and we found him underneath the bar.
I came up with the idea, and I looked down under the bar, and he was laying there on the floor.
Meant to be.
So we pulled Bucky out of the gutter, and he's part of the show now.
Yep. He's still got his Coca-Cola, though. It's a little Coca-Cola little deer. There we go. I like it.
We'll just make it look like.
All righty. Make sure everything's good. I think we're all good on
But
all
Bucky's going to hang out with our giveaway.
Yeah. So we're going to do a bottle giveaway because we are late tonight. So.
And because we're just nice people.
Yeah. Well, it was so nice, dude. We were outside. We haven't seen each other in like 10 days.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been busy.
Yeah.
The eclipse, all that traffic. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I'm surprised we even got here tonight for the show, you know.
People still trying to get out of here.
Probably. The Finger Lakes, man, just completely overrun. No, it was neat. I mean,
it was cool. It was too, the cloud cover kind of ruined it.
Yeah,
it was cool, like how dark it got, how fast it got dark.
Cold. That do you get that 10-degree drop where you were too?
I don't know how far it dropped, but
wow.
Yeah, it dropped.
That's a guesstimation. 10 degrees. I don't know. I think the deer were moving, dude. After the eclipse,
they said animals. It was going to affect animals.
Well, the freaking the turkey birds. My chickens went up to roost when it happened. They went up in the coop house, but the turkeys didn't. They stayed down. But the wild birds and stuff, they were flying around all freaking out. I don't know. But I hear that all these animals are going to be blind because they don't know to look away from the eclipse. So supposedly the deer should be easier to kill this year.
Well, it's going to up your chances on the big one.
Yeah.
If he doesn't know what time of day it is and he's blind.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would definitely help.
Also increases chances of getting hit by a car, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I think still here. Smile.
Yeah. Just walking around like Bird Box. But no, it was cool. I guess they had better viewing up like Maine and all that area. So I guess all that traffic supposedly kept going northeast. There was eclipse chasers chasing it. I don't know.
Like storm chasers.
Just what I heard.
Could be.
But anyway, back to the show.
They also said you weren't supposed to eat during the eclipse.
What?
Yeah. If you were eating while the eclipse was happening, that's something weird.
I was drinking a little bourbon. Is that okay?
I don't
know.
They had all these weird things.
Probably got some weird side effects.
I don't think anything's true about it, but
yeah. Well, we'll see.
I mean, there's also people saying that Jesus was going to come back in the 3 horsemen.
Yeah. Well, we're still here, so
I was standing there.
We didn't luck out on that.
I was waiting for Jesus to come back. He didn't.
Yeah, well, we're still here, so unfortunately, I guess we didn't make a cut.
It just means he did come back, right? Yeah, we didn't make it.
Yeah, that just means we get to chase deer another year.
With some sketchy planes, helicopters.
Yeah, I guess there was some low flying stuff going on and craziness all around the eclipse, but
what if that was just safety? So, like, people, if they were above the clouds, people would stare at it, go blind.
Yeah. Well, dude, just weird behavior in general. Like last night, my wife made me watch the cable repair guy at the end of our road at 3:00 in the morning for about an hour and a half because she was convinced that they were doing something sketchy. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, the internet's out. There's a guy sitting there with a truck idling at the end of the road playing with, I don't know what was out or happening, but They were still working on it when I went to work, so
there's a few other things that
I don't know.
that might be the cause of that, but we don't need to get into any of that.
Yep. Anyway, so
Oh, you watching yet?
Yeah, last 10 days. Well, we had 2 weeks ago. We had the guys from Cartel on, Tyler and Trent, which, dude, I really enjoyed that show. Those guys are a wealth of turkey knowledge for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we need to work on, because I guess they just dropped a collab call with Working Class Bow Hunter. We need to pick their brain about maybe doing a 100-proof collab.
Yeah.
So
I was kind of surprised they did that with Working Class instead of us.
Well, they've been on their show a bunch. They did the masked episode with the Working Class guys, and they were on there first. And bigger name, bigger platform, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I still got to get my calls. How's yours that you got from Tyler going?
Great. I mean, I've never seen a turkey call be made before, so it was cool to see the process.
Yeah, and we got more traffic on the page. We got some new likes and followers, so thanks to the Cartel guys for sending some guys our way, and hopefully we sent a few over their way, dude. Still got time. They got a ton of inventory. You still got like 2-3 weeks before turkey season.
They just dropped. I don't know if you could only buy them the day of the eclipse, but there is like an eclipse edition on calls and stuff they were talking about. But totality.
Yeah.
So
gotta love it. Just solid marketing, dude. Good calls. Can't beat it. They hand press every single one of them, either Tyler or Trent, or I think Eric was the other one that was pressing calls or bending frames the other night. So it's literally like a 1 or 2 guy, 3 guy operation at most. So, and they just sit there and pound them out, dude. But yeah, the quality controls there. You guys were measuring latex and with that micrometer and all that stuff, trying to make sure that
I was picking Tyler's brain on the process of making turkey calls, and he was picking my brain about my machinist background and the measuring equipment he was using. So we did a little swapping of knowledge back and forth. It was fun.
Yeah. No, that was definitely a good show, and hopefully have those guys back on. I think their turkey tour kicks off, I think, like next week or maybe the week after. And then we got youth weekend coming up. That's the 21st, I think. 20th and 21st, maybe I want to say, whatever that Saturday, Sunday is. 20th and 21st, yep. And also that weekend at Windy Brew, there is the Shed Fest party. There's also a birthday party that you and me have been invited to, so I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to. So I might just send.
I'll probably be at the birthday party.
Yeah, I'm thinking about sending like that best single side with Jim, because I think Jim's going, and found it that day with him. So send Crafty single side. But I think we're pretty much done, dude. The farm was actually kind of a little bit of a bust this year, but thanks to everybody that came out and helped us get some miles done out there. It was definitely appreciated. And then the first time shed hunter finds the best shed, and specifically the one.
I can't believe how much that was chewed already.
Oh yeah, I'll go grab it quick. But yeah, we did find Crafties.
One of them.
Yeah, one of them.
His cool side.
I still think the one that we found with Owen almost scores better.
I don't know about that, but maybe. But yeah, I can't believe how much they gnawed off of that.
Yeah, a couple inches off of each of his tines, his beam, and it wasn't out there that long. Wax. Just gonna smell him, get his scent, get him out like a hound dog. But yeah, no, that was the side we were looking for. That was his split side, his
bot fly
side. Kind of let that deer go this year. We'll see what he turns into this year. Or if he sticks around, who knows? Could get hit by a car already. Don't know. But we found his shed. He made it through season, so that's kind of the best we got. One neighbor missed him, and then I kind of passed him, and I was the only one that kind of had him within somewhat range. I had him at about 36 yards with the bow, and I let him slide. So, but yeah, it was definitely cool. And actually, we found the shed probably only maybe 100 yards from where I passed him. Actually, I got thinking about that after the fact. So maybe we got a little bit more insight into his core area. It looks pretty nice there on the table, actually. We didn't think it was that as impressive, I guess, when we picked it up.
Well, looking at him on camera,
yeah,
I mean, looking at him here, he's got, I think he's got 18-inch beams.
Yeah, his beams are short.
He's got probably 16-inch beams.
Yeah, I think it kind of sits sideways on his head, judging by that burr. I think that's what makes him kind of seem like he kicks out more. But his beams are super short, dude. But cool little split. It's my first non-typical shed, dude. So shout out to my cousin's boyfriend Jeffrey. He was the one that actually picked that one up. I'll give a little dig against Jim Wilkes. On Jim Wilkes' line, he kind of wandered back through there afterwards and picked it up where Jim was walking. So,
darn it, Jim.
Don't know how many, dude, you walked by. I wish I had
I probably distracted Jim. I was talking to him.
Yeah. Couldn't stop staring at you. You look so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Crafty was definitely a cool shed. We ended up with 16 for the farm for the year. I did a short pass today. Well, my daughter was sleeping over at my parents'. I did one quick little walk like we talked about there across the road from their house to finish that section up. Mm-hmm. The only thing I got left is cherry orchard. But the hogweed's solid, dude. You can't even, the only thing you can barely see is the deer trails. Other than that, the whole bottom is covered now. Solid green. So unless you got something decent like that sticking up, you ain't going to find a little 3-pointer, 2-pointer anymore.
Yeah.
Which kind of is a bummer. We had some high hopes. We had a lot of deer on camera, but just nobody, even in the neighborhood, found a lot this year. We're missing Stretch and a couple of the sides off the other ones, but found some of the cool bucks we were looking for. Definitely Crafty's was one of the cool ones. So now it's kind of switching on to frost seed and clover plots, which you got your frost seeding done a little earlier than folks are getting it done now. And then you got your fertilizer down because clover started growing. You got good temps and stuff like that, so you hit it with some fert the other day. So how'd that go? You said you had some technical difficulties.
Well, I don't have a toe behind spreader, and I'm not spreading 400 pounds with a hand spreader. So I went, Track Supply, bought one of those push spreaders. They could hold about 50 pounds. And I buy it. Well, I picked my fertilizer up, went and got the spreader, went over to the spot, went to spread it, made one pass, and it quit spreading. So had to take it back to Tractor Supply. I looked it over real good, couldn't fix it. Like the gear thing in it just stripped right out. It was, I don't know. So I had to go back to Tractor Supply, exchange it, got another one, and that one seemed to hold up a lot better. But we got her spread out. It took me about an hour to spread it, walking it with the push behind spreader. But yeah, we'll see what it does. I think it was a good time. It was within 48 hours. We had a bunch of rain and thunderstorms roll through, so that'll break down a lot of that fertilizer and let the soil soak her up, and that's kind of the main idea. Is trying, because it was kind of like pelletized. It was pretty, like almost like little rocks. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. This is my first year experimenting with it, but I think we did a pretty good, I guess, process with it. We did the soil test, figured out what it needed. Needed 400 pounds of 0-20-20. For people that aren't aware of what the numbers are in fertilizer, I believe it's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So
gold star.
So what those numbers are is the amount of each one that you would get. So my soil didn't need any nitrogen, but it needed phosphorus and potassium. So I got 0-20-20. 20 parts.
20% phosphorus, 20% potassium, and the rest is filler product for distribution and etc. with it.
So yeah, went through, did that, got her spread, and we'll just see what the product is. I've been doing, I know I made a few posts, but the hunt and blind, the elevated hunt and blind, I got that in. I got the bottom part Good idea of getting some of the burlap netting, camouflage netting, wrap the bottom of it, and then a lot of trimmings and down limbs gathered up and kind of made like a blind underneath it that I could use for turkey season because it really isn't a bad turkey spot. It's on the top of that hill. I feel like they probably naturally go up the other side of the field,
Kind of where they want that
but
one.
I've seen them in that corner also.
Mhm.
So I think maybe if I'm like running late or something one morning, it's just an easy spot I could slip in undetected. Even like for an afternoon sit, it's super easy to get up in there and hop in there being
for deer season.
undetected. And I mean, access there for turkey and deer is mint.
Yeah, you got nice topography there, hiding you, scent for the deer, blowing the way it blows.
And all the game's going to be down below you. You're going to have the elevation advantage to see anything, really before they'll see you.
Yeah. What do you think of the new ticketer feature, Nate, that I figured out how to run?
Ticketer?
Yep.
I feel like we're running a weather channel.
Yep. So that's a drop in the comment in for a chance to win a bottle giveaway from Bucky.
Bucky.
Because we're late tonight. So.
Bo, did you see Bucky?
Yeah, Bo did have a comment. I was going to get that in here. Big one from Bo.
Wow.
Here we go. New law trying to pass in New York. Smullen's legislation is called the Apprentice Hunting Bill, and if passed, it allows a person 10 years of age to hunt small game, fowl, deer, or bear during applicable seasons without obtaining a hunting license or hunter education course certification, and to possess or control a firearm with the persons within arm's reach of a qualified hunting mentor. See, that one I don't agree with. Maybe lowering the age to 10, I might be okay with for, let's say, maybe small game or something like that. Or, you still have to go through the hunter safety process. And I know it's a lot easier than it used to be, than it was when you used to have to sit down for a course and stuff like that. You can do it at home now. So I'm curious, and I hope that it doesn't reflect negatively on hunting related incidents.
Right.
Because of the not hands-on education that you get in a hunter education. Like, I don't know, dude. For mine, I had to learn how to cross a fence. Obviously, I had to learn how to do stuff like blood trail too. That was part of, I think, the bow one. I don't know if that was the gun one. And then when we used to have it at the Clyde Gun Club, they used to actually have range time, dude. So you got to actually shoot, with a weapon before you left and handle a gun. Because some of the kids there, dude, had never handled a gun before. And didn't grow up with it. So I'd say kids. There were some, people that I met in college that we put through the hunter safety course too,
right.
that had never also handled a gun, and until we put one in their hands for the hunter safety course. So I don't agree with the the apprentice hunting bill, letting them hunt without the license. I think they should have to go through the course process and everything like that with it. I heard they were talking about lowering the age, but I didn't know that they were doing it without making them obtain a hunter's license or hunter education certificate. This is going to be like that meme with like the toddler, like me putting a picture of Nora next to like a 180-inch buck and being like my daughter's first deer, at 2 months old. I don't know. I think that they should still have to go through the.
I mean, for small game though, he's not talking whitetail.
No, that's everything.
Oh, really?
That's everything. Small game, fowl, deer, and bear during applicable seasons. So, and he's got the legislation numbers right there on the screen if anybody's interested in checking out more about that.
Without a hunter course?
Yeah, without a hunter safety course. Or hunting license, as long as you're with a person within arm's reach of a qualified hunting mentor, whatever that definition means.
So that would be like me taking Owen out when he turns 10.
But does that means that Owen can pull the trigger as long as he's sitting with you. So how would you tag your animal that you're bagging? That's where I think, that gets really gray. Or like you could take Owen out and shoot like a 2-man limit of squirrels when he's 10. You know what I mean? I don't know, man.
I mean, because not all animals have to be tagged.
Right. Small game.
I could see it being a little bit of an issue with a tag. Turkey, bear, deer.
Or, something like waterfowl, dude, for waterfowl identification. It's tough, dude, identifying birds on the wing, let alone putting a 10-year-old out there and saying, hey, just shoot mallard drakes, without any kind of education system. hunter handling, any of that stuff. I would agree with maybe dropping the age, but definitely got to keep that hunter education, dude, and the license sale. Because I mean, the youth license is only, I think it's $5 for a youth license. It's nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if they gotta purchase a youth license or whatever, I don't know. I feel like how I am with Owen, I think by the time he's 10, I don't think it'll be an
A
issue
little different, yeah.
because he's gonna have me, his grandfathers, his mom, like everyone
Yeah.
does it around him. He's gonna have
Fun and culture.
Yeah, I mean, he's in that situation. I mean, by the time my son's 10 years old, he probably doesn't even need to take the hunter safety course. Just, you know what I mean? But legally, he has to. But I don't know. But for the general public, I think you probably should incorporate the hunter safety stuff.
And I think even
because not everybody lives like we do.
Well, and I think even, it's kind of almost that, you got to do it because everybody's done it. So I think even like Owen or like Nora, when she gets old enough or whatever, to still have to go through the process of the hunter safety course.
The way the world's at this day and age, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a common thing to shoot a gun anymore.
No.
Back
100 years ago.
60s, 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up doing that stuff.
Or even 100 years ago, dude. Like, most of the population was rural.
You drove to school with a gun in your gun rack in the back window of your car or your truck.
And now you get expelled.
It's a whole different world now. So I think you have to keep that hunter safety course and education involved with, the younger generation coming up.
Yep. Gonna hit the next comment, but definitely a good opening comment, Bo. Definitely appreciate the thing with that. I didn't know that it was without obtaining a hunter license or education. My wife tuning in up there while she's feeding Nora and keeping an eye on her tonight says, "Let's hear about that trout derby."
Oh boy,
how was the water conditions? First of all, last Saturday,
the water was running. The water was running really fast. It was cloudy, very muddy. We were fortunate enough to catch a few trout. Me, Owen, Jesse, Clark, and quite a few people in the trout derby. Youth and adults entered quite a few fish. It was a good time. I mean, the weather was nice. It would have been nicer if you had a clear stream, but a little more of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a challenge trying to fish with 2 1.5-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and trying to keep them.
But you were able to land a fish. Jesse landed a couple fish with Clark.
Yep, Jesse landed a couple with Clark. I landed one with Owen, or 2 with Owen, and yeah, it was a good time. I mean, the upstate Mike Vienna and the upstate sportsman crew, they put on a great thing. I mean, awesome for youth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I highly recommend bringing your kids out, get them involved in that. They give away so much stuff. Owen got a Hot Wheels fishing pole just for signing up. They had the little Barbie fishing poles and the lures, and they had some other stuff on the table just for signing up and participating. You got a free lunch. I think they did hot dogs. The kids got to go over, all the youth got to go over this table with all these fishing poles and kids stuff all over, and they could all pick one thing. Mm-hmm. They even had a giveaway table for adults with some, more adult
door prize stuff. Yeah.
No, not door prize stuff. You gotta, if you were adult and you participated, you gotta pick something out. Jesse picked up 2 free rounds of skeet from the buckhorn that was donated.
Oh, no kidding.
So it was wild. And then Mike does a good what do you want to call it?
Silent auction. I saw that.
Yeah, the silent auction and the raffles and people doing it. Jim Wilkes, he did a hell of a job putting together some lamps he made out of deer sheds. They look nice. There was a nice wooden bench. Someone burnt trout into it. It looked great.
Yeah.
It was great. It was fun. I mean, I'd say half a day.
Yeah.
it went from 7 a.m. to about, wow.
Noon was weigh-in, right?
Weigh-in was 12:45. Then after they did all the awards and blah blah blah, yeah, we're about 2 o'clock.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a great event. I highly recommend people getting involved in that.
Yeah. Had another comment in from my wife. We're just gonna try to clean up this topic about the mentor hunter. She says this sounds like a way someone like me could go out with someone like Ben as an introduction as well. So for the introduction for the apprenticeship side of stuff, the spouse side, I see that, validity with it. And then she followed up with, I'd rather sit and learn from you than a hunter safety course. She says the format's probably outdated.
So this is touching back on Bo's comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to wrap that back around and make sure we've wrapped that one through. That's a fair point. I mean, I haven't seen the new hunter education course. I mean, I did mine, 20 years ago now. I can't imagine it's changed all that much. But that's definitely a good point that maybe it's a little outdated, but I'm thinking with the new digital format, maybe it's not as, I don't know. Maybe we should retake it. Maybe it should be like your driver test. You got to get rechecked every once in a while. There's some folks that definitely could benefit from that.
Oh yeah, I know quite a few people that should probably retake it, but whatever.
Bo dropped a comment in earlier, said that's a cool shed. Thanks. Yeah, Crafty. He's one that we're looking forward to seeing what he does this year. I'm curious to see if that botfly hole made the split, or if he keeps that split, or how that ends up shaking out with him. So, going down the list here. Jerry, Ammo Man Jerry comments in. Have you guys seen many woodchucks yet? I've only got one so far. 120 grain copper bullet. May have been a little over the top, not belt fronting. Yeah, I've seen them roadsiding. Shoot, dude, the way that the food plots are growing right now and the turnips are bolting, with this early warm up kind of.
I'm seeing woodchucks
They're all over the place, dude.
Everywhere.
But it's getting to be that there's almost like 8 inches of growth, dude, in the freaking food plots right now. They're freaking, so pretty soon you won't be able to even see them like in the winter wheat fields and stuff like that. But they're definitely out there.
It's gonna be interesting when turkey season rolls around how tall everything is.
Yeah,
everything. I know last year it was kind of like it is now. It was still pretty brown.
Well,
last year.
Yeah, we were saying before we started that I was able to get like 1 mile or so in, or 2 miles, whatever it was, in at the farm, and the hogweed was already up so much that the only thing I could really see was like the deer trails. Like any of the space in between the deer trails was just solid hogweed. Like there was no more like dirt space that you could see. That makes it so nice to find sheds out there. When we get an early green up like this, dude, it just makes it murder. Kind of washes them out. It's really hard to see the sheds out there with it. So, going nickel bin. Bo, big comments from Bo. It's confusing how the state is proposing additional opportunities for youth, yet still struggling to retain hunters overall. Now with this latest bill, it feels like deja vu. Let's hope that there's some innovative solutions that not only engage our youth in hunting, but also sustain and grow our hunting community for the long haul. Yeah, I agree with that. That might be the main topic tonight. I had a lot more comments come in on it actually since we brought it back up. But yeah, I think there should be a lot more based on retention, access opportunities for hunting parcels. I know that there's, I just think there should be like more hands-on with some of the officials on different game lands on for take, because some of them, I think have been recently over harvested in some areas, just because there's not, if you get 20 guys that go out there and punch a tag on it, that piece of state ground support that 20 deer getting taken off of it? Maybe not, so increased opportunities. I know there's a lot, especially up in our area, nuisance permits. I think timing a season for that. I think in just education, like we talk about, dude, you and me shoot our does. We shoot our fair share of does. I think last year was the only year that I didn't, just because I ran out of freezer space. But thanks to Joe, I don't have that problem anymore. Got a big old brand new freezer out in the freaking garage now. So
Seen that.
I got no excuse now. But I would like to see more donation centers because I would shoot more does and donate them to the hungry for sure.
Yeah, we need to figure something out there more locally.
Yeah, it needs to be a local drive for that.
I would donate.
I would love to.
I'd donate a deer every year.
I would love to, dude, to like local soup kitchens or whatever. But yeah. Let's see. I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit with comments. Make sure I get them all. Dan Festa. Dan, tuning in.
What's up?
Gotta make sure. Oh, and by the way, if you guys haven't read the little ticketer down at the bottom of the screen, you drop a comment in, you get a chance to win a bottle of the 100 proof maple finished bourbon is what's in that. Dan says, so you use like 4-pound test line?
No, we caught our fish on 20-pound monofilament and about 10 yards of line, Dan.
Then end up having to worry about seeing them, having them see the line and
no. I mean, when I cast it, it sounded like someone chucking a rope out there. Whoa, 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 whoa. Dan was picking on me the whole time we were out there fishing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So how the hell are you catching stuff on that?
That's because the water.
Because my water was brown. If it was clear water, Dan, they'd be able to see it.
Yeah. My mom with a comment says, "Who's tag and what's the bag limit for?" I'm assuming tying back to the that youth mentor program. Yeah, that's a good question. Would that be like if you did take Owen out, whose tag would they use for that deer? That they shot. That's a good point. If you take them out,
we were talking about it. We don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, Bo, I didn't even know this was happening. Bo just kind of brought it to my attention.
I heard
that's something we'd have to look into.
I heard they were dropping it, dropping the age, but I didn't know that they were doing it. Like,
I'm assuming they'd be able to get a youth tag.
Yeah, but they said you can't get a tag without having a hunter's certification, and they said without obtaining a hunting license or hunter education certificate, just going out with a mentor hunter.
Then must be the mentors.
I would assume the mentor's tag. Yeah,
giving him his tag. I'd have to look into it.
That's interesting, and I know it's in legislation right now. So that's something that we'll see how that goes going forward. Jerry comments, says, "Do you ever use drones to spot them?"
I'm gonna look that up quick, see if I can figure it out.
Yeah, well, Nate's on that. So for the woodchucks, or the sheds, sheds would be really tough, I think. Shoot, it's hard to spot them. That one that you and me found that other day with Owen, the only reason I found it was because I walked over to throw this leg bone at you jokingly, and it was laying next to this old leg bone. And I about had to kick it, dude, to find it. So I don't think finding sheds from a drone is going to be that easy. It's not like we're out in Iowa picking up, 90-inch freaking sheds. But woodchucks, I think that could be a good tool for spotting woodchucks out on a field or flying over a couple wheat fields that you might have permission to hunt and stuff like that. I think that the drones could be useful, but I would check with your game laws because I know you're not allowed to use drones in aid of harvesting animals. So I don't know if you can use them for, like, let's just say spotting woodchucks across a wheat field or something like that. So that would be a question for Econ.
So it says here, and this is off of the DEC website, junior hunters may use a deer management permit, antlerless only. Deer Management Assistance Program tag, antlerless only, or a regular season tag. During the youth big game hunt, junior hunters may use the regular season tag for a deer of either sex. So must be that 10-year-old can go get a nuisance tag, more or less. Is that what it sounds like?
A DMAP, that would be your your go tag, DMP.
New York State youth hunting license.
Jerry, with his follow-up comment, says, in a bean field, you would see a perfect half circle where the woodchuck holes in dead center of the half circle. Yeah, like I said, I would just double check with Econ if that's a viable tool to locate woodchucks. I don't know how that works because they're a varmint. They don't have a season.
Do Amish need hunting license?
But you can
Frequent asked questions.
frequent asked questions in the Google search.
The answer is yes, but no.
Yeah. But yeah, I could see drones being very useful in the aid of any game species, but or whatever you're hunting. But again, check your local laws, and I don't have the answer to that. I don't know if you can use them because I know you can't use them. Believe it or not, you cannot use drones in recovery of a wounded deer either in New York State. That's also illegal in New York State. So. Just saying, you can use them for population surveys outside of the deer season. You can use them for aerial flyovers for like looking at the way habitats lay over certain areas, off-season type uses, but you cannot use them in season to aid with the harvest of a deer and most game animals in New York State. So that's yeah, that's kind of the where we're going to leave the drone thing for right now. Bo dropped in a nice comment. We will start that comment. Man, I'm looking at all these new features that I'm finding on this. The more we use this StreamYard app, dude, the more I like this because I'm finding new things like the ticketer at the bottom, everything like that. Make sure I got everybody's names in here that's commented so far. So Jerry, Dan, my wife, my mom, and then new comment coming in from Kyle Tiffany.
Kyle, what's up, man?
Kyle Tiffany comments in. Let me get your name in here.
I don't know. Well, I'm gonna look more at it. I can't see that. I can't seem to find that law Bo's talking about.
So we put Kyle's comment up there. My new property hasn't been set up for deer. What's your thoughts on hinge cutting and small plots to start?
I mean,
what's your thought?
I'd have to see the property. I mean, hinge cutting, you kind of want to do it in more specific areas because when you're hinge cutting, you are creating lower browse for the deer to feed on, but you're also creating bedding. You're creating something that for that deer to lay up against that feels safe. So when you are doing hinge cutting, you're going to want to do it somewhere where the deer are most likely going to bed. And it's kind of an area that you would either want to, I guess, maybe cut off a little bit of where you don't want the deer to come from, slash you want to create bedding, like on a hillside where the sun's going to hit it, where they're going to want to lay in the sun during the day. I mean, that's kind of my thought and take on hinge cutting, in more or less a nutshell. And how I would go about it, I would kind of look at the property, maybe hunt it as is for a year, and kind of get an idea of where your deer are coming from, maybe where they like to bed, how all that kind of lays out. And what was the other one? Hinge cutting and
small plots to start.
Small plots. If somebody's talking probably like food plots.
Yeah, little food plots, stuff like that.
If you want to do like little food plots, that would be, in my opinion, kind of a transition plot. Some people call them kill plots. I like to call them transition plots because you want that small plot to be between their bedding and the major food source that they're headed out to in the evening to feed on. And you want to set up on the downwind side of that transition plot. You want that deer to come out of its bedding to go to your transition plot, your kill plot, and hang out there for a half hour, an hour before dark, where it wants to head out into the wide open and hit that major food source. and that gives you creating a little area where that deer will expose itself during daylight hours, and it will feel safe as long as you are hunting it correctly, and not when you're accessing that plot, you're not spooking deer out of there. You're accessing it in a way, and you're watching your wind, so you're not alarming those deer that you're in the area while they're still in the bedding area. So when you do think about this hinge cutting, think of bedding when you're hinge cutting.
Mhm.
And then when you're doing your small food plot, think of how you can access that food plot without disturbing that bedding, and how you can get those deer to go to that food to transition themselves and expose themselves in daylight and shooting hours before they move out into the major food source, and give you an opportunity to actually get a shot at that nice buck that's hanging out for, usually you don't see until the last 10 minutes.
Mhm.
That's where those transition plots really come in, and they can really be helpful.
Nice. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely echo Nate's thing on access, and he brought up a good point where maybe even hunting it for a year for your new spot.
It'll save you a lot of stand movement, because I've been there.
Mhm.
Just throwing stuff
Picking
up.
it apart and fine tuning it for sure. Yeah, so
Maybe even hunting it for 2 years before you make any major moves, Kyle, because of the transition in crops is going to affect the
yeah,
rotation of crops around you. It might have a little effect on your deer movement from year to year. So you might want to have different setups for a bean year versus a corn year.
that's again, that plays into access, plays into timing, plays into all that. I talked about that with a client up in Sodas the other day. He's going into a bean year, so that's going to change how we attack and lay out that piece versus when, like you said, it's a corn year, because then he's got access and covered, screening until they harvest the corn before gun season typically. But then we talked about different options, like being able to throw the 100 proof mix into beans versus throwing like winter wheat into the corn, so there's a green base there to get them through the winter, da 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 da. So there's ways that you can play around with ag to also plant some food on your property with the farmer's permission, of course. If it is a piece of property that you have permission on and you don't own right off, but if you definitely aren't the owner of the property, obviously, before you do any hinge cutting or small food plots, obviously clear that with the landowner. That, it kind of goes without saying, but the access is the big thing, and not just, and this is something I see all the time, is you get to your stand location. I see this on client properties a lot. You get to a stand location and they're like, well, my wind's good here. However, they didn't take into account the 300-yard walk they had through the food, through the field, through the bedding to get to the stand that was good wind. They blew the whole bedding out before they even got to the stand.
Ruined their hunt before they even started hunting.
Correct. So then we go around and we change the access to where that stand isn't where it is, but maybe it's off to the south, because we can get around that end on the south side and be able to get up into that stand without going through that bedding area that we just talked about. So just making sure that all fits, and then your improvements, try not to walk through your food plots. Even if it is just a little transitional kill plot type thing like you were talking about. Definitely don't blow your stuff into bedding areas if you can help it. If you are blowing it into bedding, blow it on the neighbor's bedding, and let them blow their scent right onto your bedding and push them deeper into your property. And don't cut your property right in half. Do your best to kind of keep to the outside to keep the deer focused on the middle rather than cutting it up the middle and pinballing them all around like I call it, kind of pinballs them up through the center.
Then you're just helping your neighbors out.
And then you're going like, why are they killing all the good ones? So yeah, just make sure, Kyle, that whatever you're doing for an improvement, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to do it, but I think this first year, start with small improvements, see how the deer react to that, especially if it's a brand new piece that you're hunting for the first time. Would definitely lean on a more little conservative approach with it. Learn the piece, pick it apart, get out there right now before it gets any greener, and start diving into it, and get some boots on the ground information on the property where you're seeing historical rub signs, scrapes. You can still see most of the scrapes right now. For that historical stuff, you can find deer beds right now, pretty evident in a lot of spots. So you might be able to locate good bedding areas. So yeah, and then turkey season is kind of, I call it like Fruit Tree Awareness Month. You go out there with your ribbon when you're turkey hunting, and you can flag your apples and that kind of stuff too when you're doing that kind of time of the year scouting. So kind of going into that next piece of it. So,
and something else, Kyle, if you haven't already done this, I'm sure you have, but is to download the Onyx map. There's a little bit of a subscription fee, or you could go on Google Earth and just look at a topo layout of it, and you can kind of see how the land rolls through that property, and you can actually pinpoint or get a good idea of where these, I used to say pinch points, bottlenecks. If it's kind of on the side of a hill or it has a hill on it, you can pick out widening of the lines, and that usually means like a bench shelf on the side of the hill. The deer are going to like to move on that bench shelf because it's flatter ground. It's not, and you can kind of look at that and kind of get a general idea of where to start your first year hunting it, and get a good observation of how the deer use that property. And then the next year kind of dive into it and put a little more work and effort into after you kind of understand what the deer are doing there. Are they mainly passing through there? Are they kind of hanging out there? Is there a lot of bedding there? Is there a decent food source there? Is it, you just kind of gotta just figure it out. But that, for the first year, I would definitely look at a topo and look at different features on that property. And right now, like Ben said, go check out those features on that property, whether it's a pinch point, bench shelf, saddle. And just kind of eyeball them and kind of get a good idea. And it's a lot easier to hang a stand right now when it's not green. If you do kind of find a spot that you're like, wow, this is like almost perfect. I can get in there. I can throw it,
You can see it fall like.
Yeah. So.
And I'll give myself one shameless plug for the night. If it is fairly local, Kyle, I am still doing like during the week visits and odds and ends dates. I still have some floating availability, within reason. If I can drop my daughter off at my parents or something like that, or have my mom come over and watch them to get a couple hours on a local piece, I'm always happy to help new clients with that stuff. So I appreciate you tuning in. I don't know if Kyle's ever been a commenter before. Might have been tuning in before, but
he might have commented before.
Is he local?
Yeah. He's right in Phelps. He works for the town of Phelps.
Oh, no kidding.
He works with Vienna and
gotcha.
Terry.
Very cool.
Them guys.
Very cool. Very cool.
He actually has my little dirt bike. He got it running for his kid.
Nice. Very cool. Kyle says, sounds good. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome, man. And if you're interested in having us pick it apart more, me and Nate are always happy to help any way we can with it, man. Bo's comment: after a decade of experimenting with hinge cutting, I found myself leaning towards a different approach. While I still utilize hinge cutting in some cases, I've noticed cutting down an entire tree and then sectioning them to get sunlight to the ground works better for my situation. In areas with a lot of pole timber or long trees, I've observed that deer aren't as drawn to hinged areas. That's definitely a good thought. I've definitely seen people overdo it with hinge cuts, and they just drop a bunch of trees with a hinge cut and they expect deer to use it. But what deer need is they need escape cover out of that. So like Bo says, sectioning out areas in that cut that you're doing. I kind of call it a wagon wheel approach, where you have kind of a central opening in that bedding area with sunlight coming down where you get briars and woody regen. And then you're making corridors and trails with the chainsaw physically through the trees, out in different directions. That way, if a predator like a coyote or a human was to come in there and intrude on the bedding area, they have a way to get out of dodge. In multiple ways, not just one way in, one way out. Because if it's one way in, one way out, they're typically not going to bed there or use it. They might transition through it, but they're not going to bed in it. So, and then like Bo says, hinge cutting is something that's, I think, more of a fine-tuned final kind of sprinkles on top of the Sunday for most cases. Most of it can be done with a traditional felling. I know we did some hinge cutting on your piece of non-desirable timber species, understory trees of no timber value, and that was just to make a screening block. That was a completely different use for hinge cutting, for an example. So I think it's a good tool for like the blocking aspect. I do it a lot around tree stands. I'll drop like a single hop horn beam or small beech tree to pinch down a trail or cut a trail off to bring it by a stand. I use it kind of almost like a fine-tuned thing, but my main bedding areas are like Bo says, kind of traditionally dropping trees and opening up some sunlight, because that's what you got to have for bedding, is you got to have daytime browse and sunlight in there for them. So good comment, Bo. Definitely hinge cutting is something that can be overused, and definitely you can make it too thick and keep deer almost out of the area too. And then there's some spots, like you said, where we did the hinge cutting on yours, that we did that to keep the deer from going downhill from you. We want to keep them up the hill.
Tried to funnel them up towards the top.
Absolutely.
I'll be.
Yep. Keep them coming down the, what do we call it, death row?
Boulevard.
That's what it is, the boulevard.
Bring them down the boulevard.
Down the boulevard. Jerry says, my blog won't be out till Friday afternoon. I have some research to do on it. I have help lined up so I can take lots of notes and graph things. Should be new and interesting data. Yeah, so if you guys are tuning in over on the Hunter Proof page, we share Jerry's blog every week when it comes out. He does a blog for the Newark Rod and Gun Club, and we post that up because he's got cool things on reloading, all sorts of stuff, tree stands and hunting setups.
Yep.
Nice, a good local resource, and
nice read.
Good friend of the show, and always a good read. So, absolutely. So yeah, Jerry, we'll be sure to share that up, and look forward to this week's blog. Tom says, I had to cut a big loop trail to go around my staging plot. Unfortunately, it is horrible on a north wind, but on a south wind, the plot is bedding. But on the south side of the plot is bedding. Okay, so you had to cut like a goal. Yeah. So what we were saying, Kyle, and kind of with Kyle's thing, is making sure you're not going through, some of the areas you're improving. Like Tom's saying, making that backside cut around trail.
Honestly, the best way is really to have a trail around the entire outside edges of your property, and you access on the downwind side of your property.
If it does lay out like that, some of them.
If you're kind of like a block in the middle of like most properties are. Like I'm assuming a lot of these properties aren't like 200 acres. I'm assuming they're probably like 20, 30 acres.
Mm-hmm. Especially woods. You could get 100 acres with tillable. That's like a permission piece. I see that a lot, but most, I was at that piece up in Sodus, and the guy's like, 96 acres. He's like, this is probably a small piece. I'm like, I said, no, dude. I said, this is like a bigger piece that I'm on. The average piece is, like you said, Nate, is probably around 25 to 40 acres. Mm-hmm. The one I'm going to tomorrow is 35 acres. That's what most folks can, afford in New York, honestly, with land prices and taxes. 35 acres is a pretty good bite for a lot of folks. So,
yeah.
And that's where you have to be even more to the T with your access and how you lay out stuff, because you blow out 30 acres, it's done. It's not like, I got 500, I'll go to the far side of the property where they haven't seen me in 2 years. Right. So, but yeah, Tom, good point that, sometimes you have to cut a big loop trail around to get to the back side of it to be able to access to hunt around it with the way it lays out. And then sometimes you got to kind of, like we do on our one side of the road, we kind of cut it in half with the way the access is and turn that almost into two properties. And then the other side of the road is its own property. And just for access and stuff like that. So, just kind of look at the way it lays out, and always think about where your scent's going when you're accessing too. like I said, don't just go to that back corner because it's good with a west wind. If you can't get there with a west wind, doesn't matter if the stand's good if you blew the whole property out to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are those stands, that I lay out on client pieces, and ones I have for myself, that if it's the right week, the right cold front, and I can push the envelope getting in there for one sit, I'll do it. There's some of those ones that you play that edge game.
Play the edge.
Play the edge.
Try and play thermal, get the thermal game, but that's getting
a little deeper with it.
Pretty involved.
Mm-hmm. But definitely can be part of it. Tom said, yeah, this one is a small property and the woods are in the corner, so I'm limited to access since I can't come through the neighbor's property. It's limited access stand, but I just watched the wind closely. Yeah, you gotta hunt it smart and hunt it right.
Even if you want to go hunting and the wind's wrong, just stay at home or go to a different spot.
Get some honeydew stuff done.
Just don't hunt it on the wrong conditions, because if you do, you're just going to hurt yourself down the line.
Right. Or don't hunt your prime stand, sit a stand where you could be in the opportunity to have something happen, because obviously when you're in the field, obviously anything can happen. But maybe not sit one of your prime time stands if the conditions aren't quite right for it.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the option, put a stand off kind of on the outskirts, something more of like an observation stand. If you really, just to get out there and be out there, and you never know, something might come by, but it's better to play it safe than, I would say, dive in there and blow your spot up.
Yeah. Especially small acreage.
And you can, like Ben was saying, kind of play in that line game a little more during the rut, understanding the time of year.
Correct.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all
part of the game, dude.
All a chess part game. Of the big mathematical equation.
It's like a chess game of Battleship.
Oh my god!
It's always moving and always constantly changing. And you're playing against a living, breathing animal that's trying to stay alive.
But if you only can access from one side, that means you really,
it's a one-dimensional side.
If you're just a square block cut out in the middle of the woods, and you can access from one roadside because none of the neighbors will let you do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if there isn't a trail going all the way around it, and you can't walk the downed ends, and then who knows? I mean, on that downwind side, maybe the deer usually come over from that neighbor's side and cross through. Like you got to kind of understand the deer movement. You got to.
Right. And you can use sometimes
just staying at home is more beneficial than going out and being out there.
Or those spots that we call observational spots are ones where, I'm hoping where I'm going that night that the neighbors are hunting that night, because they're pushing scent and pushing smell my way. So that's going to push deer deeper into maybe a spotter section. Yeah, so also planning on the way your neighbors kind of hunt or traditionally hunt. Maybe they're not hunting as smart and they're hunting it with, hey, it's Saturday, I'm going out. You can kind of plan on that they're, an every Saturday hunter or whatever it might be. And it's an east wind coming, but that their spots aren't good for east winds, but that's going to put them closer into yours. So always something to think about too. Like I said, we'll just add another destroyer to the Battleship chess game as we're going with this.
All the things that run through your mind before you go out hunting.
Yeah, and then you throw a serial killer board into it, and it all just gets even deeper levels.
Was it that movie? It's the one where all the guys go on the bachelor party. The Hangover.
Oh yeah.
When he's sitting there at the card table and all the mathematical equations are like going around him. That's how I like to picture myself during deer season, trying
to figure the spot. And then there's that little bit of that luck factor at the bottom of that. It's just got to slot into the calculations.
It's like playing poker.
Mm-hmm. My mom comments in, I'll probably watching along with my dad. Cutting trees makes long-term changes, so think ahead. That's also a good tip. My rule of thumb when I talk to clients about hinge cutting or cutting trees is if you can't identify the species you're cutting, don't cut it. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And then
Cool.
try to, tell clients that identify your 5 most common trees, your 5 most common shrubs, and that'll get you mostly 80% of the way there in most woodlots.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty straightforward. But yeah, definitely cutting trees, especially anything that's timberable size. And obviously don't cut trees that are dead or dying. Don't cut trees you don't feel comfortable cutting. I know a lot of guys are from that generation of the chainsaw safety was, here, Nate, hold my beer. I'm going to cut this tree down. We want to come home at the end of the day. So look at the right methods of felling a tree. Dude, I can't tell you how many properties I go to, Nate, that I was at one in Cayuga County about a month ago. And this guy was like, oh, I had this old time, tree guy. It's all he does is cut trees down. I don't know how the guy's still alive, dude. No face cuts. We're talking like poplars that are like 18, 20 inches through. And he's just angle back cutting them. No face cut, just angle back cutting them. They're sheared off, dude, 15, 20 feet up, barber chair. And I'm like, what the heck, dude? He's like, oh yeah, man, he was going crazy in here dropping trees. I'm like, I don't know how the old guy's still alive that's cutting these trees down, dude.
Cat-like reflexes.
Yeah, must be cat-like reflexes, and must be lightning's not lucky enough to strike him. But yeah, just cut trees in a smart, effective way. I've walked away from trees that I don't feel comfortable cutting numerous times. So yeah, just got
the prime season to be doing hinge cutting.
It's getting past.
Well, it is getting past, but is in the winter.
Yep.
And the sap in the tree and the moisture in the tree is frozen, which makes it more brittle and more of a chance for it to barber chair.
Can shear off.
Shear it, or however, whatever term you want to use for it. So
no, that's a good.
You are at a little more higher risk in the winter and cold times of doing that.
Yeah. And then, there's different species that hinge cut better than others too, like poplars and pines. I wouldn't hinge cut them. Maples, hickories, a lot of stuff like that will hinge cut well. But that's a whole different separate podcast for a different day. But real good comments tonight coming in on the comment line. So appreciate it, everybody. Kyle tuning back in said, yeah, his is only 30 acres in Phelps. Front 10 is Christmas tree. Production, 2 creeks, small pond in the woods, with the back 10 acres is a thick thicket that hasn't been touched or walked through in years. Dude, those little 30 acres can be gems,
especially in Phelps.
Yeah, we'll get your GPS coordinates later, Kyle. But no, dude, that sounds really nice. I like the 10 acres to access through.
So your road access is north side of the property, Kyle?
Nate's like, I already know where this is in my head. Nate's just like running his Rolodex of Phelps knowledge. I'm a transplant. I don't know where he's talking about. But I do like the way that it lays out with we'll just call Christmas trees ag in the front, because you can use that for predictable access. The creeks give that break up and make it bigger. Just like topography makes properties kind of bigger as they lay out. I like the way this is sounding for Kyle's piece. And then thick thicket deep in the back, if you can access adjacent to it and
keep his bedding in the back, and it's easy to avoid that way.
Get in between it. Says he has access from the north and the south. So
Kyle, sounds like you're in the money.
Playing with multiple wind directions.
The odds are stacking in his favor already.
You gotta, put it on a big map and start looking at it.
Just access it and hunt it smart, and sounds like things will happen.
Absolutely, dude. A lot of nice. I like that it's multiple types of habitat. It's not just, hey, I got 50 acres.
He's already got that cover in the front for that small plot between the pine trees and the thick bedding.
And you can plant between the rows.
Yeah, it's already laid out for him.
It could be. Oh, we're gonna delete your comment. I don't want everybody to know where you're hunting, Kyle. You don't need to. Don't need to drop the coordinates, dude. I deleted your comment. Don't worry. It's funny. Actually, it's funny because I was looking at that piece the other day when I went by. As soon as I read that comment, Yeah, I know exactly where you are, especially after that comment. Yeah, dude, that looks nice down in there for sure. Kyle's like, LOL. Don't worry, I deleted it, at least on our side of it. I hope it translated over to Facebook and deleted the comment for you. I don't want everybody jumping on your spot, man. Curious minds want to know, what are your thoughts on selecting stand locations first on a property and then tailoring your improvements to guide the deer to those spots? 100% every time, dude. 100%. I say that all the time. You pick your access, pick your stand, and then build your improvements around that. Otherwise, there's no point in building your improvements and then going, now how do I hunt this? And there's spots where I've gone in and destroyed specific beds or bedding areas. One in particular that I did probably almost 10 years ago now, 10 years ago. There was a bed. Yeah. There was a bed that I had that was overlooking our main laneway that went down in on the east side of the road by this big old pump pond. And I was cutting a bottle or a can?
Bottle, preferably.
So,
actually, I got the cup here. Forget about it.
Nope, I got it. Oh, you got a little cup?
Yeah, I got this one. I'll just use this.
Okay.
Sorry
So
for the interruption.
You're good.
Bad habits calling.
Yeah. So we had a bed. I was cutting around this pond that we have on the property, and I found this solo bed underneath this perfect honeysuckle bush with a maple tree right next to it, and there was just this depression deep single bed. Figured it was a buck bed, and I got down in it and I got looking at it, and I'm like, this deer, whatever deer is using this bed, can watch that whole access into this side of the property from this spot, and he can just slip out the back door. So what did I do? I dropped that maple tree down. I cut that honeysuckle bush down. I wadded up another couple trees into it.
Watched all your access.
I got rid of that bed completely.
It is kind of a fun thing to do. If you do find a solo bed like that, get down in the bed, crouch down in it, and just kind of look around it. And you'll actually, a lot of times, you'll actually see why that deer is bedding there.
Yep.
Especially if it is a buck bed. I mean,
Yep.
You do get the occasional single doe beds here and there, but for the most part, if you find a single bed on especially a side hill or something like that, some thick cover.
Yeah, and if you're finding,
crouch down on it, get on one knee, and just kind of observe what he's seeing when he's laying there, and you'll be like, wow.
100%.
This guy's watching me come from the road every single day.
Yep. And try to think about, especially that, dude. I see that all the time.
So that deer watches you pull up to your hunting spot and get out of your truck, start
Get
walking.
dressed.
He gets up and he walks over to the neighbors.
Yeah.
He already knows you're there.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's another thing with access in and out. Sometimes my access into a stand also, this is a good comment, your access in might not be your access out in the afternoon either, because of where deer move through or transition through. You don't want to go back through, so you might have to take a longer route in or out than you do in or out, if that makes sense. But 100%, Bo, you nailed it. Stand comes first, then your improvements, because otherwise you're playing catch up. And I'll tell you what, a ladder stand or a hang on is a hell of a lot cheaper than a tower blind, and usually a lot easier to get back into some of those spots and hang up than it is to get a tower blind into back some of those spots. So
that's all I hunt out of is
you got a tower this year?
Well, yeah,
you got the tower now,
upgrade,
but you got the access.
And I've hunted that property for 5 years before I just went on and bought a tower and threw it up.
Right. So, but yeah, definitely always recommend picking the good stand locations and shoring up not just your stand locations, but your access.
Well, that's why.
And looking at the property use.
That's why we said, to go out this time of year before things get really green and you can get a good look and lay of the land and kind of pick your stand locations now.
100%.
And get out there, and it's easier to put up the stand now and hunt those stands this year. And you will observe all the deer movement during the fall, early winter, during hunting season. And then after this hunting season and you acquired all of that knowledge from that time you spent out there, you can make your minor adjustments and start laying out a plan to go in there and do some hinge cutting or food plots or anything like of that sort.
Right. But
So,
yeah, definitely stands first. Some properties, it's really limited on trees. So that way, if you have your access to a specific tree, you can build your improvements around that location and make it, make it function and bulletproof for what it needs to be. Sometimes.
I know we're a little late on this, but it is a topic we need to touch on, is talking about gun stands versus bow stands. We meant to,
100%.
we were supposed to talk about that, I think, on this episode, but
Yeah, I think Clayton commented on that.
it kind of got away from
Sorry,
us
Clayton,
today.
if you're tuning in.
Right, we'll write a note of it for next episode and keep the note.
Yep. So, yeah, the gun versus bow stand.
Or gun hunting versus bow hunting.
Yeah,
in general.
That would be a good topic for next episode. This is our new one for down here at the bar. This is another one that's a very good comment that Jerry comments in with. What about seasonal streams, small seasonal streams? Should you make small dams to pool water for wildlife? This is a very big topic. So with pooling streams, obviously you need to check your local regulations to see if you're in a wetland, to see if you can do any manipulation, including logging in some of those areas that are seasonal streams and or
Trap and
wetlands.
release a beaver.
Yeah,
That was natural, and then kill the beaver when he's done making his day.
Yeah, no,
Don't
yeah.
listen to me.
So yeah, small dams to pool water. That's tough. That's all property specific, dude. That you can't give any kind of
if you really
stroke with that.
It is tough. I mean, honestly, it being a seasonal stream, I don't really think you would get caught with it unless it starts backing up and affecting your neighbor in some way.
The upstream stuff.
I mean, if it was a small enough dam, but if you really wanted to make a water hole, Jeff Sturgis is all about it.
Yeah, I like Sturgis' stuff a lot.
I like the ideas that he has. He just goes out and buys one of those animal watering tubs, digs a hole, plops them in the ground, throws some sticks over them. But he usually puts them closer to bedding. Like, it's kind of like hinge cutting, and all, you kind of want a location specific to put these things in. But the only problem is if you have a dry year, you got to truck water out to it if you even want it, because like a seasonal stream only provides water for the animals for a certain amount of time out of the year. So if the deer can only use that water for a week out of the month before you get out there and put water in it, they're just not really going to use it regularly. They're not going to hit it like a mock scrape every other day or whatever, check it in. It's a lot of work, and then I don't see how pooling the seasonal stream would going to be really beneficial.
Jerry says small dams, so it looks like the kids did it. Blame the grandkids if anybody says anything. I like that comment. Blame the grandkids.
Yeah. Won't write them a ticket. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the officers don't like kids. I don't know.
Depends. But yeah, I think it depends on what your goal is for wildlife. If you're looking for, making ponding for waterfowl, or for intermittent water holes for salamanders. What's the term? Let me draw back on the college knowledge here. Ephemeral? Is that right? Vernal. There it is. Vernal pools for amphibians. Those can be good. We've put a couple in at the farm that do very well for amphibians and stuff like that throughout the year. So I would say check and make sure you're not in a state or fed wetland for whatever you're doing for manipulation. And just have a goal, just like if you're doing anything on your properties for deer or wild or turkeys or whatever game species or non-game species. Just have a goal and a reason why you're doing what you're doing. Don't just go out there and just start throwing tons of money at it and tons of other stuff at it. You know, get a good idea, get a good plan going for what you want to do and why you want to do it. And make sure that fits, because I've gone to a lot of pieces and I've been trying to play the reverse on some of these, ideas that people have had that they just didn't think through and just started throwing ideas at it, throwing money at projects. And then they're like, why isn't this working? It's like, well, it's because it doesn't fit the situation or fit, what you're trying to do with it. So
situational.
So yeah. So, and we're gonna do this because I don't have to add any other people to the wheel of names for our drawing. But Bo's comment of the night says, "What about a crossbow stand?" Bo, I will put the crossbow stand specifically on that list for you. He's gotta have.
He's gotta throw the crossbow.
Gotta have his crossbow stand comment on there every time. Thank you, Bo, for the good laugh of the night. So we will. Let me see here. Let me see if I should present. Share screen. So we should be able to look at the Chrome tab, wheel of names. Let's see here. Oh, come on. We had a comment right here at the end. Tom says one in every crowd for the crossbow. And then Mark C. We will get you put in, Mark, because I'm that nice guy. Mark C's tuning in over on Facebook. I believe he's tuning in from one of the Carolinas, if I'm not mistaken. Mark C. Been a long time listener to the Old Tin Cup channel, 100 Proof. So thanks for tuning in tonight, Mark. Ready for turkey season? Yeah, we've been looking for a few birds. Nate's getting ready to get his cameras out. We got a tool up. Yes, South Carolina. Perfect. Yep, got the Southern guy tuning in.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, we start May 1st for our regular season, and then we have youth season on the 20th and 21st for New York. So starting to see some birds around, being visual.
Yeah, Mark, if you didn't get a chance, tune into the last episode. It was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
the cartel guys. That was full turkey.
Yeah, it was all turkey talk.
It was all turkey.
So here we go. Whoa. There we go. Sorry, guys.
I don't know what Ben's doing.
Got to get over to the wheel of names. So here we go. Everybody, 3, 2, 1. This is for the Bucky bottle for bottle number 2, because Penelope won bottle number 1. Oh, that's not even fair.
Respin.
So my wife's the winner because her name's on the thing, but I'm going to make an executive decision here, and we're going to respin it.
Congratulations, Hannah.
Congratulations, Hannah. You won. But we're going to give it to somebody else.
We'll show Hannah again. It's like Tom
tuning in, probably from the fire hall. Tom Swart, our winner of the bottle tonight.
100 proof private stop.
100 proof private stop. Tom, congratulations, sir. Oh, here we go. You are the winner. So you guys should be able to see that right now on the screen. Tom is our winner on the random draw. So, sorry, Mark. Maybe if you got in a little sooner, but how was
next time? We got one more. There's 3 of them. We got
to figure out what we're gonna do with the last one of the things. So, yeah, Mark says congratulations, Tom. So yeah, we are a little over that hour mark, and that's where we like to be, is right around an hour. So we're shooting a little over tonight. So I actually probably have to go feed my daughter.
Yeah.
So
I got to get home to my little guy.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not sleeping yet.
Yeah.
Or hopefully he is, depending on how he's acting for his mom.
Right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to 100 Proof Whitetails podcast. This is available on YouTube Live, YouTube After the Fact, Facebook Live, obviously Facebook After the Fact, and then we post it up anywhere you listen to your major podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, And if you don't see it where you listen to your podcasts, let us know, and we'll get it over to that too.
Yep.
So,
Well, enjoy the rest of your night, guys.
yeah, and probably 2 weeks we'll be back down here at the bar. Next week I'm on the road.
On the road.
So 2 weeks we'll be back down here. I'll be doing a remote live show. Next Wednesday is the goal.
As long as everything works out, kind of where you're at.
Yep.
Things work out.
Yep. And then 2 weeks we'll be back down here. Or maybe we'll go to the shed. I don't know.
Shed's still pretty cluttered.
Okay. Maybe the garage.
I still gotta get my barn up.
But yeah, so thank you guys so much, and have a good night, and we'll catch you all next time.
Yeah.
Wherever we're at.
Where we're at. Thanks, guys.
See you.